On October 2nd, 2022, I decided to start my lifelong dream of writing my own book. And not just a book, an epic fantasy book. That means I had my own magic, my own world, my own creatures, and more. So I wrote, I drank coffee, I wrote, I studied, I wrote. And after countless hours, 67,000 words, and a lot of loving advice from my wife, I had my first draft. And it was terrible. The book was called Rangers of Skyhaven. It followed a young man named Soren Egilson, a carpenter, who was the only person on the island incapable of using magic, called weaving. Anyway, he found himself drafted into the Ranger Corps to defend the island from a threat that had attacked the city, alongside the badass Captain Erica Bryndotter. But before they let anyone join, there was like a 3-month training program for this emergency draft. And I know what you're thinking, why would there be a 3-month waiting program for a draft? And that's a good question. Just put a pin in that, you smart little goose. So I knew that first books are almost never good, so I refined it and I studied and I fleshed out the characters and I wrote a new draft and then another and another and another and another. And then 5 drafts later, I had polished my magnum opus. And it was terrible. Again, all right, terrible might be a little harsh, but it was actively not good. The story just didn't work, the setting wasn't fleshed out, and the characters didn't really pop. So naturally, I wrote a sequel. 3 drafts of that, giving me 75,000 words total for Shards of Skyhaven. Things are really cooking up now. But no, it was slightly less terrible, but still terrible. And then I decided I was going to kick it into gear and write the prequel, Captain Erica Bryndotter's origin story, and remember this one. But then I realized something horrible. Erica was so much more interesting than Soren ever was, and this should have been her story all along. And then I looked back at Rangers of Skyhaven, and I realized something horrible. Remember that pin we put in the topic earlier? Let's take it out. Because the whole premise of the story just did not make sense. Why are you so strict in an emergency situation about who you're going to take or not take? Why was every character one note? Why were all of the characters men and one of the only 2 women couldn't even speak? It was... I started over. I had to start over, and I was devastated. I took these hundreds of thousands of words and I tossed them. So it was bye-bye to Rangers of Skyhaven, and I got back to work. Soren's story became Erica's story, Skyhaven became Emora, and I realized I got scammed into buying AI cover art, and so I got proper artwork. I even narrowed down the subgenre I write in, which is psychological, grim, bright, epic fantasy, which is a combination of real terms that I bastardized to mean like a dark world with strong themes of hope and connection despite the bleakness, all while focusing on the character's inner journey. Now, I promise this is going somewhere, but the most important thing I did is I overhauled my entire cast. I knew that I really wanted a large cast and wanted to tell a big story, but in order to do that, I really needed to know them. So I took writing classes, I read books, I went to local groups, I did seminars, and I ultimately wrote a novella for each of my 8 characters. That's how I met Erica, Soren, Rhiannon, Davcina, Ingrid, Reese, Alf, and maybe my favorite, Gwyn. Now, I say novella, which is like a short book, but what I really mean is novel for some of these. Some of them were 300 pages long. But in doing this, it got the cast out of my head and onto the page. I knew them inside and out. And then I took the classic story Seven Samurai, or if you haven't seen an old Japanese movie, Bug's Life. And then on May 9th, 2024, almost exactly 1 year ago, 2.5 years after I started Rangers of Skyhaven, I finally started The 7 Rangers. And it was actually not bad. Like, sure, I had to go through some early painful beta reading feedback, like I'm still not over the guy who told me that it read like bad Wattpad fan fiction by a teenager, but everyone seemed to agree. The characters were there. So what was the story actually about, and what's the story we're gonna get? It's broken people fighting literal angels and battling metaphorical demons, is kind of how I pitch it. We got angels that are demanding human tribute, and 7 broken heroes trying to defy failure, fears, and fate to stop the harvest or die trying. So I got to work again. I woke up every morning at 4 a.m. and wrote until 9 a.m. for about a year, pretty much without fail. So 7 drafts of this story later, and now it's finally here. And not only is it not terrible, I genuinely think it's really good. And I'm giving it away for free. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I spend years trying to get the story right only to give it away? And it's because I realized that what I truly care about is telling the story and sharing these characters. This is a world I wanted to see realized, characters I wanted to share, stories I wanted to tell. And no dollar sign is going to quantify that. But it's not just Seven Rangers. Remember those origin story novellas I told you about? I'm talking about those too. In addition to all the sequels for Seven Rangers, all of these coming to you for free. So what does this look like in practice? The Emora Project, a multimedia storytelling passion project. So starting on June 1st of this year, the Seven Rangers begins releasing chapter by chapter, completely free across 3 formats. We've got a web novel on Royal Road for the readers, coming to Spotify and other podcast apps for the listeners, and then YouTube, the heart of the project, with audio chapters, voice-acted monologues, music, potentially animatics, and more. So chapters are going to drop once or twice a week, depending on how quickly I can polish them and how much coffee I've had. But I didn't stop there. Like I said, I built an entire YouTube channel around this world, and it's quickly becoming more than just a place to post chapters. It's a hub for everything Emora, all in character, never breaking immersion. So there you're going to find chapter summaries to keep you updated on what you missed if you ever miss out on a chapter, character monologue videos, 8 to start, 1 for each of the main cast, thinking of them as like little soliloquies where you get to meet the Rangers in their old world. Voice acted, custom scores, and hopefully immersive. We got some grimoire entries, lore videos pulled from within the world, narrated by the perspective of a mysterious observer who's been watching Emora from the shadows. These entries are canon, but also cryptic, so think like a magical codex meets a spy journal. And then also, fan art! Every single chapter is going to feature community art. Yes, every chapter, all of the art. Regardless of whether you're a professional level digital painter or you literally just want to draw stick figures in Microsoft Paint because you think it's funny, as long as it's not hateful, as long as it's appropriate to show my audience and I won't get taken off of YouTube, if you make it, it's going to be in the official chapter video. Even if just for a few seconds or much longer. We'll cycle through everything that's submitted. I want this to be a hub for artists to help bring this to life with me if they're passionate about it. You can click on the link in the description if you want a chance to be in our first chapter videos. We're starting those now. In addition to the art, is Ask the Characters. So after every chapter each week, fans are able to submit in-universe questions to the latest point of view character, and they will respond in a video, sometimes cryptically, sometimes sassily, sometimes heartbreakingly. Right now I'm going to voice most of them myself, but we have the cast growing for this full cast of characters, and as the Patreon grows, hopefully we'll be able to fund them canonically voicing the characters. So all of this is built into the long-term goal of creating a new living, breathing fantasy series that feels like a shared universe. Not locked away in some hardcover, but living out there online. For anyone who's interested to access chapter by chapter, voice by voice, and when it's all done, I'm going to package it up, put it in a physical form for anyone who would like it, but my stories are always going to come free to those who want to wait. I mean, look on screen, I have a lot planned, and all of this is already written. If you're interested, check out the description to see the first 6 chapters, an intro video, and meet our first ranger, Soren Eggleston, or just join our Discord to talk about the project. It's free, it's fun, and it's just the beginning. This is the Seven Rangers, Volume 1, Harvest. Welcome to Emora. That'll do. That'll do!